Hi, it's Charlene Turner again. So here we go. We have the red that's cooling down because I get a little, it's warm. And still let it cool down. I usually let them go for about at least an hour, if not 2 hours. But there's the first slice of what we put together, and again you're going to be going, huh? But let's give it a little time. What I did with the second group, which was the pink and the black, conditioned the two clays and did basically the same thing. Did I make the same pattern? I never make the same pattern. So this is what I came up with, and this is half of it, and I left one big piece so you could see what that looks like. Then I reduced it down to let me see here, probably maybe half an inch maybe. So this is what it's down to when I've done it, and I've got a long piece here. Now you go, huh? All right, now what do we do? So again, there's no conformity on any of the sides. So what you do is you take your blade and try to make pieces about the same side. Now I'm doing this back away from the camera, and I probably wouldn't make level slices if I wanted to because I really can't see, up close. But so you're going to do 6 slices. And the reason we do 6 slices, now I'm going to level this camera down and put it on the piece of paper so you can see what's going on here. I don't know how well the focus is going to be on the closer items, but I'll try to focus it a little bit closer. So I've got my 6 slices. This is where the fun begins, because what you do is you take your slices and you start matching the pieces. So here we go. And this is the way I go, okay, how do I want to put this together? Nope, that's not right. So turn it around. Turn your pieces until you're sure you got a match set. I have before not taken the time and messed it up, especially if they were close to each other. In other words, the patterns were close enough, and I'm still not getting it right. So let's see what I'm doing wrong. Now look at that. You're going, huh? She did it wrong. I did. Now that's what I'm talking about. So you see, I turn that piece there. Make sure this time I got it right. Okay, so now I've got the little round, smaller squiggles. So I'm going to show you, again, that's not right, but I do. Now it's pretty warm here, so I am beginning to distort this a little bit. Okay, so there's the first pattern. And I'm going, do I really like that? No, not necessarily. You might, and everybody's different on how they like their patterns. The camera's loosening here, the tripod. So now, let's see if I can do this a little quicker. I'm going to put those together. If I didn't get it right in the first shot, you can take a lot more time than I'm taking to do this. Alright, that little knob is that way. And So there's a second pattern. I don't know how well you're seeing the pattern. I think you're getting the general idea. And then the cool thing about doing it this way is you can get 3 patterns out of the same cane. Now, if I do this pattern and you've said to yourself watching this, she did that pattern the first time. Usually what I end up doing is taking 3 pictures, and that way I can tell if I've done the pattern all 3 different ways that you can put the pattern together. So there we go. So I kind of like that one. So the next step, if you're going to do a pendant or a pair of earrings, I love how the camera's tilted now, pendant or a pair of earrings, you're going to take this cane, and again I'm using the pink and not the red that I started out with just because it's a little bit cooler, and you're going to cut it into 6 pieces. Now right now I'm just cutting off the distorted end. And how do I know that? Because if you really look carefully, you can see that little bit of pattern right here on the end is pushed up. So I want to make sure my pattern is the same all the way. So now I'm going to just measure this really quickly to try to get 6 pieces. And I have what you're seeing on the board on the table is I have a quilter's mat on the table underneath a piece of plexiglass that I work on all the time, and it's just easier for me to measure and cut. Now you're going to notice here that I've only got 4.5 inches, and since I would have started with a bigger cane, I would have got it out to about 6 inches, but I wanted to save the big piece so you could really see what I ended up with. So now I'm just going to cut it in half, and usually I just kind of center this. Alright, I'm going to try this. Now the easiest way would be to measure this correctly and cut it into 3 pieces. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to cut it in half. I'll show you. And I'm going to cut that in half again. Now I notice I've got an uneven edge. And just cut that off for the sake of doing this. I took it back apart for a minute. And then I'm going to cut those 2 in half. Now you're going, why did you do it that way? Well, because what I'm going to do is match up my sides. You'll probably just realize I'm out of the camera range. Like this. And you're going to notice that when I do this, even I have to think about this for a second. Now I'm doing this only because now I have approximately a 1-inch slice. So I know that these 2 sides match and those 2 sides match. So for the sake of showing you what you can do, I'm flattening it out on the table. And I'm cutting in half again. And flipping that end over. And if you're following this and doing it, this is the first kaleidoscope. And if you've done this cane, you'll have your first kaleidoscope. Now there's a whole bunch of things you can do with this. This you can roll down. Now I've only made it like 1/2 inch thick, and I can still use it that way. You can roll it down and make a pendant, and then make it smaller and make some earrings. And since again this clay is pretty warm, I'm going to let this rest. The other thing you can do is you can reduce your bigger piece down. Again, keeping your sides up. Now this piece looks about, well, I'm going to put it on a square. So it's about 1 inch by 1 inch. And I'm going to keep reducing it. And I saved enough of this, and I'm going to do this on the red one too, and show you on the next video. I'm trying not to make these too long. On the next video, a few things you can do with the canes. So this is today's work for you. Go ahead and condition your clay if you want to do this. Get your pieces together, and remember, let it rest. See how soft that is for me? If you're using Primo, you're probably going to want it rest at least 2 hours. If you're using Fimo, a good hour before you start playing with it. So right now I've got a pretty good sized piece here, and I'm going to reduce that down to about half of what this is. And tomorrow morning I will make a video of what you can do with some of these. Now remember, let this cool if you've gotten to this stage. You know, usually at least 2 hours. You know, you could go overnight, which is just fine, and then slowly, and hopefully you've got a bigger piece than I ended up with, because you'll have more cane when we get to that point, like the red one. And keep pushing it together once it's cool enough until you get a round circle, and then roll out and make yourself a pendant. Stick a little hole in it, slice a piece off, stick a little hole in it, and you can put a jump ring on it and hang it. And tomorrow morning I'll fix this so you can see what happens. And so the next video I'm going to show you how to use the cane on, I'll show you the pendant pieces, and then on a pen, and then I'll start to build a bowl, and that we'll use with a bigger piece. So the reason I showed you four blocks of clay, and notice I've got the big red clay because I usually use the bigger blocks just because it's cheaper that way. So if you want, make 2 canes, and then tomorrow we'll play with the canes, and I'll show you what you can do with some of them besides pendant earrings, which is great. And you should be proud of yourself if you've gotten to this part and you've actually made your first kaleidoscope. So love to hear from you. Have a great day and play with your clay.